Greetings, welcome to Extra Hours, part of the officehours.global network. You can find out more, officehours.global, and you can join. You can even join and get regular emails, daily emails about how we're doing our questions and answers around media production and that sort of thing, AV, event production, and also all sorts of media, and often, the things that are connected to technology, AI, those sorts of things are what we are discussing. On a Monday night like this, Monday night in the US, we have a discussion that can just sort of goes a little bit longer. We can dive into some things a little bit longer. We have a few less questions sometimes, and so we can dive into them for a bit longer. So to help us in those discussions, starting off up in Seattle, Washington, is Guy Cochran. Hello, Guy.
Hello, hello. It's been an exciting last 24 hours with this whole Clodbot. Might get an opportunity. I think that there's a softball question in there, but man, things have heated up. So I'm excited for this show.
It's gone to a new level, apparently. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. We'll have a chat about that. Down from Washington State, getting right down to California State in Hollywood, we have Courtney Gooden. Hello, Courtney.
Hello, Grant. How are you today? Finished walking your wallaby and got the wombat all warmed up. Yep. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, everything's
here.
warm.
I hear it's been hot down there. It was up to 76 today here in Hollywood, although the rest of the country is freezing cold.
It's freezing cold. Yeah, exactly. That's what's amazing. But for special weather comments, we're going to cut to our Adelaide correspondent, Karl Asmussen. Tell us about the weather.
So pretty much we're living on the sun at the moment. Right now, so when I was getting ready for just a quick update, when I was getting ready for the show here in Adelaide, which is on the coast, and the next landmass next to us is Antarctica, just to give you an idea. So around 11 o'clock a.m. Adelaide time, it was around 43, so which is about 110 Celsius in the old money. It's now dropped down to around 35. So that's just the wind swinging around just in the last hour. So it's cooled down, but we've had some very, very hot days. Pretty much all of Australia, centre of Australia is pretty much just cooking at the moment, well over like 115, 120 Fahrenheit. But yeah, so hopefully the winds will change, but the centre of Australia won't cool down very much. But yeah, it's hot. It's very hot. We could hit some records, some hottest days ever.
Yeah, I think what's full on too is that some of you know my parents and both my brothers live in the States. My parents are in Nashville, or just outside of Nashville, and it is 10 degrees Fahrenheit there at the moment. And so yeah, which is minus 12 degrees Celsius. And so that is particularly unusual for Tennessee. And they're having all sorts of problems with ice and snow. I mean, my brothers lived there for 20 years or so, and it's funny that it rarely would snow in Nashville, rarely, and now it seems like it's just every year there's snow, and now
it's almost cold enough to freeze the moonshine in Tennessee down there.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. So no matter where you are, if you're experiencing extreme weather at the moment, we're thinking of you. Hope that you're able to keep all your technology going, as it's one of the things that I think about. Technology, including an air conditioner or a heater, because that's actually, it's so weird for me talking to my parents in that I'm struggling to keep the air conditioner working to keep it cool, and their air conditioners are freezing over. And so that's a problem. They have to go and chip all the ice off of it to, get it going again. So, yeah, it's a strange world. Meanwhile, Courtney's just, pretty much the same weather year round.
That's it. That's
in the desert. Yeah, fair enough. Yes. All right. That's enough about the weather. I think we Guy, you teased at a thing just then. I thought there was a softball question. Why don't we go to that one first? Because I am interested in that. So you can
Sure.
read your question and then answer your question.
Read the question, then answer the question. All right. First one up is from Chirig Cheetah in Dallas, and it's cold down there too. He asks, at Guy, what have you been doing lately with Mimo Live and VMIX? And he says, in parentheses, softball. So you got a softball question.
Softball question. What have you been doing, Guy?
Man, things just went crazy over the last 24 hours. Like I was saying when we started this thing, it's so I've gotten pretty heavy into Claude Code, and one of the things that people started talking about on X over the weekend was this thing called Claude Bot, and what it allows you to do is you can run it on your Mac, and we talked about this previously where we had Claude Cowork, which would take control of your mouse, so you could say like, open up this Chrome browser and grab all this LinkedIn information, so you could like scrape. But it was very permission. It would ask you every time. Like it would be very sensitive because they're a publicly traded company, and there's all this legal. Whereas this ClaudeBot thing, it's open source. So this guy puts this thing out there, and he's like a former millionaire AI guy, and so he just came back out of nowhere and dropped this bomb over the weekend, and it's pretty crazy what it could do. It's it runs on a Mac or PC. A lot of people are buying Mac Mini M4s, and it's just a way of asking permissions and linking up either Gemini or whatever LLM you use, and allowing you to ask. Let's say I sync mine with Claude, and then I asked it to do some things with Mimo Live. So if I may, I'll show you some of the quick stuff with Mimo Live. You want to see?
Yeah, go for it.
And this happened. This is crazy. I was on my elliptical this morning, and I connected to this Claude bot via Telegram, so the messaging app. So you could do Slack, you could do iMessage, and I'm on my Shox headphones, and I'm just whoosh, 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 doing my thing. And then I'm asking it like, hey, what API commands do you have? And it starts going, hey, would you like me to just make a skill, a Mimo Live skill? And I'm like, sure. And so it makes a skill so it understands this stuff. And so this is what it looks like. Let me pull up desktop capture number 5. So Claude Bot, when you install it on a Mac, and I don't suggest that you install this on your main machine. This is an isolated machine. I don't have all my stuff on here because it asks for so many permissions. It's crazy. So it's basically running Claude as a backend, but it's like a skin. So it's running over the top in this web browser. This is just Safari at 127.0.0.1. And you can see I have Mimo Live over here. Now I'm gonna cut to my iPhone, and this has Telegram on it. And I'm gonna say to my iPhone, can you cut to Michael or Michelle? So now you saw that happened. Now I'm gonna cut over to here, and let's see if it actually does it. So you see what it says down there? Yeah, just cut to Michelle to your iPhone.
Michelle, yeah.
So it works with any name. Oh, it didn't actually.
That wasn't Michelle. That was.
It didn't do it. Let's see. Let me do that again. Cut to Michelle.
It was clarifying, right? You're saying, can you do it? Right.
Does it get,
and
does
it's
it
saying,
get a
yes,
smart
I
aleck
can.
response and say, yes, I can?
Yes. Yes, I can. Would you like me to?
There it goes. So it cut to Michelle and brought up her lower third. And now I'm going to say to it, start the live stream. And in the background here, I have
and so then that's reading
YouTube
the
Studio.
Telegram. It's receiving the Telegram, yeah, and then just taking that as a prompt.
When it clicks on stuff, does it understand what's on the screen or reads what's on the screen?
Yeah, it can read what's on the screen.
Where to click.
Yeah, did you see it? So in the bottom right, the live streaming started, and now it says, "Hey, you're live streaming." And I did this just within the last few hours. This has all been just started working. It's blowing my mind how it was able to
Now, was this
piece all
skill
this stuff together.
pre-built that it just
No,
installed, or did it build it
no,
itself?
no. It built the skill. So already we've seen that you can cut, you can live stream, but you could ask it. Now it's full on Claude behind the scenes. I mean, if I say, who is Courtney Gooden? Oops, did I spell that right? Goody. Nope. Who is Courtney Gooden? Why is autocorrect wanting to say Goody?
There must be some guy, or woman named Courtney Goody, more popular than me.
Oh, it thinks that we're still talking about the Zoom participants.
Oh, I see. So it's looking for me in the Zoom participants over here.
I don't have web search configured yet. Needs a Brave API key so you can't look. Who is yet a guest joining your Zoom call? Someone you want me to research for the show? Oh, so I can't say, let's say, research him for the show. Research him for the show.
And so was this working, that was doing API calls just then, right? It wasn't moving the mouse, or was it moving the mouse?
It wasn't moving the mouse. Those are API calls, but earlier we were asking it to do some more complicated stuff, and it was struggling for sure. It's easier once you just set it up and then have it do API calls.
Right.
It was able to.
Where is it doing its research on me right now? Is it searching Google? Is it?
That's a good question.
Looking in my underwear drawer.
There he is. Dexter, homie. So, Honey, I blew up the kid. The river, the Blue Lagoon. Also credited as
Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. Yeah.
Looks like he's a veteran Hollywood sound tech professional with credits going back to the 70s. Is he joining your show? Yeah, he's on the show live right now.
Doing your show.
It's a different show. But so this is one that I made for Apple, and then this is something that Jpeg made on the VMIX side, and same type of thing where he made this just today. This is all new. This is an interface. So I have this one synced. This is I can preview these Zoom inputs, and you could send this URL. Mine's local right now, but this can cut. And he actually did some voice using Whisper. You could change the audio levels. Let me actually put this person back in. Let's see,
Will it do video follows audio? Cutting?
I believe
that'd be interesting.
so. But just the power of this being
active speaker on Zoom, yeah.
PTZ.
Yeah, so I turned this into a virtual PTZ control. Again, Chris Sabato came on while we were in after hours today, and he was moving Jpeg's PTZ input from across the country. So Jpeg's in Dallas, and he was moving it around. It's pretty wild. Oh wait, what the heck? Jpeg, are you controlling? I am not doing that. What in the world? Jpeg, are you? Okay, I think that who is doing that?
Jpeg has read your IP address, external WAN address, and has logged his way into the machine.
T3000, is that you?
Who are you?
Is that you?
That was pretty wild. Maybe it was just because I'm splash topped in and it's catching up. But that was scary.
Do you want to play a game?
Do you want to play a game?
If it starts logging into your bank, you'll know it's not you.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Idea, this stuff is
totally.
It's amazing how fast it's moving, that you can design apps and then host them either locally or put them up in the cloud. And do some research on CloudBot. People again are just buying these Mac Minis and installing it on old hardware and having it take over. You do have to let it basically get permission to everything. Like, so I hooked it into my Things. I don't know if any of you guys use Things as a to-do, but I had it adding adding to my to-dos. So I was again on my elliptical and I was just asking it, hey, I need to invoice this client. Can you remind me later? So it said, I've added it to your things. So there's certain skills like the things one that it added. And then I said, hey, make a note for me of all the things that the Mimo Live API can do. So it went ahead and opened up Apple Notes. And again, this is not my regular Apple Notes that has my everything. It just had access to a brand new account. So this is an old Mac Mini that I've been running it on. This is an M2 with 8 gigs of RAM, and it's able to run Mimo Live. Plus, I think I saw it taking up like 800 megabytes of RAM or something like that. There's just a ton of possibility of things that this is the first real AI personal assistant. Like this is huge.
Very cool. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it's the connection of multiple apps that I think is what's amazing. I've been building on, and I use Codex, at Cloud, OpenAI or ChatGPT's command line interface for doing web development. And I just, over the last few days, I was able to take an existing app that I had, completely redesign it, add a whole bunch of extra features, all these new, it was a simple thing where I was generating slides into images, and it was able to just take, I'm saying, okay, I want you to generate all these images, zip them, put them in a zip file and make them available to download. And it was simple, natural language that I was using, and it's totally worked. And then I wanted to make sure it was mobile responsive. That's where it struggled a little bit, but I just kept pushing it, and what should have taken one prompt, ended up taking, 5 or 6. But again, it was an hour that might have taken for me to get to that point, rather than what would have been days, honestly, to build that out. So that's what's incredible about it. So I'm certainly enjoying the speed at which I'm able to implement. And now when people suggest, oh, could you add this? It's like, yeah, give me 5 minutes, away it goes. So anyway,
here, take a look at this. Let's see what happens if I use something called Remotion, which is a skill that I've added. So I said, take 4 photos from my, can you guys see? Yeah, take 4 photos from my favorites and make a video. Let's see if it actually will take the 4 photos from my favorites and make a video. Let me check how to access your photos and the video creation skill.
What photos would it be? As in the Photos app? As the
Photos app. So I gave it I gave it permissions yesterday. So it's going into, I only have 4 photos in here. So it launched Photos, and actually there's only 3 photos in there, I guess, in one video. I disconnected it from my cloud. So let's see if it's actually going to be able to grab those.
Yeah, it goes to that gray one and tells a story about the frog.
Yeah, that's right. About
again, this is the power. Like when I did this last night, it went ahead, it made the video, and then it launched QuickTime with the video. And I was just like, oh my God.
Wow.
It took my photos, made a video, and opened up QuickTime. So let me see where it's at. Does it just create
an MOV file, or what is it? Or an H.264?
So it says you have exactly 4 favorites. Let me export them and create a video. Let's see what it's.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still blinking right now, so it's still kind of it's creating.
Thinking about it.
We might have to come back to it.
Where does it export them to? Is it local on your hard drive?
It has its own.
Yeah,
it has its own folder. So you tell it, here's your little
here's
home.
Your workspace.
Yeah. In fact, earlier it was pretty funny. I said, go ahead and get permissions to open up Chrome. And just for kicks, I opened up the Apple webpage. It's just like homepage. And then I clicked on the M4s and I said, hey, can you go in and look at the Mac Mini M4s and tell me which one that you would like? And so it actually started talking to me like, oh, actually, here, it created the video. Let's see. Done. Created a 9-second slideshow from your 4 favorites, 3 photos, 1 live photo that didn't export cleanly. The video is at blah, blah, blah. Each photo fades in and over 10 seconds. So with the zoom effect, let's see, is it in here?
Does it compose some music for it as well?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
actually, let me. I didn't have any music for it, so I'd have to go into. I'll go into that directory and bring it up.
Yeah,
Just,
let's come back to it. Let's
okay.
come back to it. We'll get on to a couple of questions and then we can come back.
Okay.
So what's the next question?
Next one is Karl Asmussen. A few weeks ago, you said something like, I also save my photos as uncompressed JPEGs, which are bigger than RAW files. I thought JPEG was lossy, period. Compressed no matter what. I was also told eons ago, never print a JPEG.
Karl?
That's right. So JPEG is a lossy compressed. What I mean is, I should be more clear. So technically my quantization is set to 0. Now, not all software can do this when it's converting a RAW to a JPEG. It can't set quantization to 0. So quantization is 0 for anyone in Blackmagic world, you may notice your RAW settings, you can set it to constant quality and you have Q0, Q1, Q3, Q5, I believe. That's what the Q stands for, quantization. So if you set it to Q0 in Blackmagic world for their RAW, it's a similar thing. So what it means is if you have 2 white pixels next to each other, it will go white pixel times 2, but the second it changes to another pixel, it will create new data, but that's just quantization. So I've got an example here. So here we have the same image, and I've outputted it 3 times, and here we just have it in preview. So what I'll do is I'll pin myself so I can see a little bit larger. So the one on the left is the raw image, and I'll click on that, and we can actually see that here. We actually see the CR2 raw image. And then if I click on the middle one, that's the JPEG. And then I've got an 8-bit TIFF. So an 8-bit TIFF would be like if we had a JPEG uncompressed. So that is literally that. So what I'll do is, now we know which one's which, we'll go back to the raw, and I'll just do a zoom in so we can all see what's going on down here. So here we can see the Canon raw file, and it's 59.6 meg. So this is straight out of the camera. No change. Now, if I click on the JPEG, which is one right behind it, so now we can see JPEG and it's 59. So 59, same size, same everything. Now we are changing sRGB. So if we come back over to, if we come back over here to the raw, so we can see that it was 59.6. So it is slightly different. We're not expecting it to be exactly the same, but what I'm saying when I say uncompressed, I mean I'm not throwing away information. So I'll click on the JPEG again. So 59. So it is slightly different. Now, you are correct. If you do 8-bit per color channel, per, to go in, and then that's a TIFF, that's this one over here on the right. Yeah, 151. So that one is completely uncompressed. That is 8-bit per color channel. Now, the thing that people need to remember is a raw image doesn't have 3 different colors per pixel. It only has 1 color per pixel because of the Bayer filter pattern. So it's either a green, a red, or a blue. It's not all 3. So what I'm talking about here is the amount of information. So I'm not losing that much information. I know it is a different format. I understand the 8x8, matrix that JPEG uses. But what I'm trying to say here is I'm trying to lose as little information as I can in my JPEGs. Now, these are my archive JPEGs. So essentially, if my RAWs get corrupted or if that particular drive dies, or, I've got backups, but, if something terrible happens, these JPEGs are fine. Plus, these are the JPEGs that I crop. And these are the JPEGs that will get recompressed into a standard JPEG file. Let's say a JPEG file that's usable to people, somewhere between 5 and 10 megabytes for an image this size. So you can see here, this is not a small image. So this is 50 megapixel. So this image, but what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to throw away as least information as possible. And essentially the term really is the quantization for the 8x8 block that we're using is going to be Q0. Which means that it does it throws away as little information as possible. And so that's kind of what I mean by, yes, it technically is compressed. Quantization is set to 0. Yes, information is being thrown away and is, but it's visually lossless. That's another way of saying it, visually lossless. Now I'd say there's compression. You can pretty much go down to maybe half. I'd say visually lossless for JPEG. You don't get JPEG artifacts until you start doing like a 10 times compression. If you do it 50 times, like the data was, as we showed there, 59. If you go down to like say 30 megabytes for that file, that'd be visually lossless. It's not until you pixel peep and actually start looking at the numbers, but that's looking at the numbers, looking at the physical numbers for each pixel. That's not visual, that's computer. So visually lossless means if you printed them out on paper, looked at the two, as I said, if you printed those 2 images, I've went back here and I'll zoom out again. Zoom out. So this one in the middle here, this one here, this is the JPEG. And I reckon if this JPEG if this JPEG here was printed, and then the TIFF on the right here was printed, there'd be no difference. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. So that's what I mean. When you're printing it or going up on, well, obviously going to Facebook, it's not going to tell you Instagram, like, because they're going to recompress it. So it all depends on, like, realistically, where is this ending up? If it's ending up on the web, then it's getting recompressed anyway. If it's ending up, like I delivered, these are the ones, so what I deliver is high-res JPEGs. So the JPEGs I deliver are usually around 10 to 12 megabytes for this kind of file. So that tells you that it's about a quarter compressed. So I'm compressing it by about 4 to 1. So 4 to 1 compression is what I'm actually going from the raw. So the raw is 60. I'm delivering around 12. So maybe 5 to 1, about 4 to 1, 5 to 1 compression. That's what the customer's getting. They're getting the full resolution. So I'm not rescaling it down like Facebook or Instagram does, or X, or pretty much all of them will scale it down. None will share it unless you go to even Flickr. I think Flickr allowed you, if you had a paid account, to show original resolution. But anyway, but yeah, so that's what I mean. So essentially, as you can see here, so 59.6 to 59 for JPEG. So this is what I'm talking about by uncompressed, is I'm losing very little information, if any, as far as like real world information. But yes, you are correct. If you go to look at the 8-bit TIFF here, this is truly an 8-bit uncompressed, and it's 151 meg. So that's true.
Wow, that was a deep dive. Courtney, got something to add?
Yeah, right.
To that,
I used to, when I think that the trick to JPEG compression, I used to do a lot of screen photography and create a lot of screens that are used. And so I used Photoshop a lot, and I would get a lot of graphics in and create a lot of graphics that I would save out as BMP files or bitmap files, and those are completely uncompressed. So you have 1 byte per pixel for each color. And then I would save them out in JPEG. But if I saved them out using the quality setting, which I call the Q setting quality, and if you set it to 12, which is the maximum, it'll make a larger file, but it is a lot smaller than a BMP file. But it's lossless compression. It's compressed, but it uses run length encoding, which was what Karl was talking about earlier. It takes 1 row of pixels, and if there are 5 pixels in a row that are the same color value, it just says, this color value times 5, and it stores that as a token in the file. And that is lossless compression, because it can reconstruct that file from the JPEG, and there will be no difference between the BMP file and the JPEG at a quality 12, which is the maximum that Photoshop does with, I think, 8-bit RGB files. So bear that in mind. It is compressed, but and I would print from those JPEGs I would always save them out as quality 12, because I needed a bit for bit exact copy from frame to frame. So if I did animation from one frame to the next, it wouldn't change, or nothing would breathe, or nothing would move around. So quality 12 is run length encoding. It is compressed, but it is high quality.
Good one. That was a nice deep dive into that question. It's helpful stuff. I mean, I think we all mess around with images at some point in time. So it's good. Next question.
Next one in from Karen Addis in Melbourne. Did I say that right?
Melbourne.
Correct me,
Melbourne.
Melbourne. Got it. I have heard a lot about running a Mac Mini as an appliance. What is actually running on it? I am using Zoom and Ecamm Live on MacBook Pro M4, but also have a Mac Mini M4.
Karl?
So one of the ways to look at using any computer, Mac Mini is a good example, as an appliance, is that software can't run by itself. It needs hardware. So a good example of this would be MainStage is a good example from Apple. So there's an Apple product that you can run MainStage. You can have a software synthesizer on it, and it can be used in a live setting. So you can actually load up a software synth, so a plug-in synth, and then someone on stage could be playing a real keyboard with MIDI going into a Mac Mini that's running MainStage with that soft synth, and then the audio from that Mac is going back out to the PA system, and the crowd's hearing it. So that would be an instance where a Mac Mini, let's say a Mac Mini in that case, is being used as an appliance, because it's only doing one thing. It's getting commands from an external device, and it's outputting to an external device, and it's just doing one thing. So that's how we talk about it. Sometimes we also talk about using an appliance like a Zoom appliance. So if you're running Zoom ISO, but that's the only thing that machine is doing. it's not doing anything else, and you've actually configured it not to do anything else. So if it's just running Zoom ISO, that means it's just talking to the Zoom reflector via the internet. It's getting those feeds in from the Zoom reflector, and then it's outputting them the way you're asking it. That could be via NDI to another machine that could be running VMIX. So you could be switching, and that's what we're talking about appliance. You're not going to run VMIX and Zoom ISO on the same machine. That's no longer an appliance now. Now, if one crashes, then your other one crashes. And so you can't have redundancy. So, but it's just running Zoom ISO, and it's going to give out. Now, it could go out to a deck link card and go out SDI via baseband. It could send it out via NDI, out to VMIX, however, TriCaster. So that's what we mean by an appliance, is that this piece of hardware. So essentially, the software, Zoom ISO in this case, needs hardware to run, and it's just using this side. It's only using this side. So there's not going to be any conflict with the CPU, which can only do essentially one task at a time per thread or per core. So therefore, everything has to get lined up in a serial fashion. So therefore, if one application is the only one that's calling on the CPU, it's the only one calling on the memory, that's what we call an appliance. If you have two applications like VMIX and Zoom ISO running on the same machine, then you have two things calling on the CPU, and it can only handle one at a time. Yes, it can be multi-threaded, but essentially you're putting pressure, and this is the memory side, you're putting pressure on it to do two tasks, and you could have an issue in VMIX where you've got a super source and it decides to just go crazy, and it could take all the resources away from Zoom ISO, and Zoom ISO may freeze just because the super source has gone a bit array in VMIX. So that's what we mean by being an appliance. So if you had two Mac Minis, then your Zoom ISO may continue to work on one Mac Mini while your super source over on your other Mac Mini running, what would be Mac Mini, let's say on your other computer running VMIX, has freaked out that computer a little bit. And so that's why we do it. We usually just one task for one person. And this is kind of how we work in professional realms. So this is true for people who work in this thing. So if you're a camera operator, you're just a camera operator. You're not there to do sound. You're not there to do lights. You're there to just operate the camera. And in a live production or even in a record production, it's true for sound. Smaller groups who have to have people do multiple jobs, either they work slower or they make more mistakes. And that's just human nature. That's the way it has to be. If you don't want to make mistakes, you have to work slower. If you work faster, you're just going to make more mistakes or miss more opportunities because you can't multitask realistically. If you just have a single person doing a single job on a film set, and this is why film sets get to like 150 people on a film set, it's because everyone has a single job to do, but it's really important that they do their job and they do it correctly, on time, and the same every time. Repeatable. That's another thing as well. So we're trying to use computers similar to how we use people in production.
Guy?
Hard to follow up, Karl, there. It's pretty deep. So I always think of like the NewTek TriCaster as a perfect example of, it's a one-trick pony. It's a Windows box, but there's special versions of Windows in particular that are what they call LT, long-term, what do they call it exactly? It's like LT. So there's Enterprise LTSC, long-term servicing channel. And that way, or IoT Core. So these are ones to run on baby computers. And then I actually created something a while back using Mimo Live called the One Button Studio. And what we did was we worked with Oliver to put this mode on here called kiosk mode. So we would launch our One Button Studio document at midnight, 12:01 every night. It would quit and relaunch this document so it started fresh in case anybody messed with it. So it would restart the Mac, and it would bring up this kiosk mode. And people don't see that it's a Mac, but it was. So when we talk about it as an appliance, you can actually turn Mimo Live into a one-trick pony. And we actually had two Macs running Mimo Live, and we had them doing different things. One was acting as a telestrator painter layer and a PowerPoint box, so people can bring in PowerPoints. But yeah, really cool that you can do this stuff with computers if you are a developer, or if you have an isolated service that you just want that thing to perform. And now with all this stuff that we're seeing with Claude Code and these abilities to make these apps yourself, I mean, there's the sky is the limit. I mean, we're living in a very interesting time right now with all these different LLMs giving us the access to create. I mean, we really are lucky right now. I mean, for those that dare to dream, you just got to come up with some great ideas and run them through ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and it'll make them for you. And Chirag and I are just using these $400 B-Link computers, and I'm hosting 5 websites off this thing that I just bought like 2 months ago. And it's now my little server, and it's crazy to think that I could use something to build something, and I'm not a coder, and it's practical and useful to people. One of the little apps that I built was, we were having this problem with Opus, which is what we use to make our shorts. And I wanted the SRT files, which are the transcriptions. But when you try to put those in YouTube, they didn't work. It just said error. And so I asked Gemini to make me a little app, and it made a little app for me. And I started running it on my B-Link. So anybody else on the shorts crew could drag and drop that defective file up. It would run it through, take out all the wrong things, and just instantly give them another file that was fixed. It was just same name, but called fixed. And then you upload that to YouTube, and it was done. It was like, what? I just made an app that anybody in the world could solve this same problem. So little things like that, where you have a problem, you ask AI to develop a solution, you host it on your own infrastructure. So that's examples of, being able to use your computers as an appliance.
Good one. Is there anything to add, Courtney?
Oh, yes. I'm using my Mac Mini as an appliance because it's powering this light over here over the USB port, and my speaker right here for my USB speaker. But and it's also holding my monitor up about 3 inches. So this is a cheaper route to go if you want to use a computer. I don't know if they make these anymore. This is from GMK Tech, but they do make. Yeah, GMK Tech is a great company that out of Taiwan, out of China, Shenzhen. And these are great because these G5s, I bought a bunch of these. They're Celeron quad-core. They come with a Windows 4 Pro version on it, so anything that Windows can run, it'll run DaVinci Resolve 2.0 or 20 or whatever the latest version is. It has gigabit Ethernet. It has 2 4K monitor ports on it. HDMI, no dongles required. It has an micro SD card slot. And so I would use these as appliances, as video playback appliances. You can run NDI monitor on it and create 2 NDI feeds from your HDMI ports there, and go out over your Ethernet, which is a gigabit Ethernet on this. And this was under $200, so it was like $156 when in their heyday. Now they're probably more expensive. Comes with 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage and Windows built in. So this makes a great little appliance. Doesn't overheat. You can stick it on the back of a monitor for kiosk mode because it supports Windows 11 Pro, supports touchscreen. So you can create a kiosk with a touch interface for it. So I've used these in a number of situations on television shows where it has to provide, endless loop running monitor, endless loop running graphics on a monitor or TV set. I just would use lots of those. Plus I can go into them and use them remotely, remote desktop, to operate them from a remote location.
Yeah, I'm the same, Courtney. I've got a bunch of those. I think I'm up to about 12 or something now. Slightly different versions of the GMK Tech. There's a little one just like that one that has 3 outputs, 3 USB outputs. 3 HDMI outputs. It's got a display port there.
Yeah, it's 1 display port and 2 HDMIs on this one. This is a slightly bigger one because it's slightly.
That's right. Yeah, I've got a few, and I've got even the Intel i7 version as well, and
and it has 2 gigabit Ethernet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some of them also have 2.5 gig.
Right.
Dual in them as well. So yeah. So anyway, they're good devices. All right,
and you can use them as toasters if they get hot. Yeah,
that's right. They warm up enough. Yeah. Next question. What have we got?
We got Rafad Al-Said in CA. Is that Canada or California? One of the two. Hey folks, in a workflow with ATEM Television Studio 4K8 and VMIX, which approach gives better results? Audio embedded through the UltraStudio 4K or audio fed via the ATEM's XLR inputs?
Karl?
My guess is that the XLRs on both of those would have the exact same chipsets on the back because they're both made by Blackmagic. They're not going to create 2 different A to D converters for XLR inputs. So that's my guess, is the analog to digital converter that they have in there, like that's actually the preamp or the line level, would be identical because they'll just use the same chipset in their ATEM as they have in their UltraStudio for current generation products, of course. But there is, if you have the Television Studio, it has MADI. So I would strongly suggest go to Blackmagic's microphone converter. So this will give you 4 line inputs or 4 mic inputs with phantom power. It has, so if you understand how this works, I did a whole second hour on this a little while ago. So it actually has, each input has eight audio to analog to digital converters on each of them. So that's, so essentially there's 32 analog to digital converters in this one box, and you can daisy chain these boxes up to 64 channels. So, and as you can see on the left here on the picture, you can see, so this is really the device. So if you're in ATEM world, especially if you're in ATEM that has MADI input, Blackmagic have done all the hard work for you with this device. So I wouldn't really go anywhere else but this one. That's my choice though, if you want higher quality. And again, it does line, it does dynamic, and it does condenser microphones via phantom power by 48 volt. Read the webpage for this, read the manual for this. Technically, the manual for this is the manual for the Television Studio. So it's just a chapter in the Television Studio. It tells you how this works. But this is the way to do it if you want higher quality. And the interface is really nice as well.
Yeah. It depends on what the source is, as to whether it was starting off as analog or whether it's actually VMIX generated and trying to get VMIX out from VMIX into the TV studio. If that's the case,
VMIX is lower thirds and stuff. I'm guessing they're using the ATEM as a camera input, baseband input, and then they use the VMIX for all of its super source, lower thirds, playback, all that kind of function that it does.
Yeah. Well, and then of course it depends on how many inputs. The XLR inputs would be fine on the ATEM if that was enough for you. And so I think Mickey, assuming you're using the UltraStudio as the interface to feed VMIX, I would rather embed as late as possible and send audio to the UltraStudio. So that's interesting. Or better yet, get a decent quality audio interface instead of running through poor quality Blackmagic design circuitry.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Well, once it's digital, it's digital. That's why I say use a ATEM microphone converter. Once it's digital, then it doesn't matter if you're going through a $2 machine or a $2,000 machine. It's digital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just depends on how good the analog to digital converter is.
Yeah, that's why I suggest the box that I did, because it's
a good
very high quality one for Blackmagic.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, next question.
Next one's coming in from Gil Carter in Brisbane, Australia, asking, is the Blackmagic Hyperdeck Extreme 8K reliable enough to use in production to capture 4 times 12G SDI video streams instead of using 4 separate 4K Hyperdecks? Anything else to consider?
Interesting. It's a good question, Gil. Courtney. Oh, sorry. Courtney didn't ask.
Sorry, I didn't.
Courtney, what have you got? No, Karl.
I got nothing.
Nothing. Karl.
So there is one downside, single point of failure for 4, of course. That's about it. That is the most, I believe it's the oldest Hyperdeck. It's had the most updates. It's had the most firmware updates. It is the one used in the highest end partners with Blackmagic. So they give feedback the most. It has the M2 built in. So even if your local device, your local storage dies, then the M2 can record it and it can network. So there's a whole lot of features. But if you're recording 4, this is really good for like things like an EVS kind of setup that Blackmagic has. And that's kind of where it fits into. But yeah, if you need to record 4 channels of 12G, this is it's very reliable because it has been around a while, and all bugs that have been in it have been fixed. And it's not doing anything that it wasn't doing before. So when it was doing 8K, it was literally just recording 4 12G signals and then simply playing them back out at the same time. The difference was you had to play all 4 out simultaneously. Now, the internals have updated the firmware. It now allows you to address each of those 4 streams individually, so you can play 1 out rather than playing all 4 out simultaneously. So it just acts like 4 players, 4 recorders, rather than 1 player, 1 recorder that does 4 streams simultaneously. That's really the big difference. But it's been around for such a long time, and it's had so many firmware updates that reliability is not really a problem. It's the single point of failure. That's the only thing where you go, okay, if it loses power, then you lose 4 recordings. That may be the only thing, yeah.
Guy?
Yeah, I guess it also depends on how you're bringing in the time code for those of the embedded time codes in there, and they all start and stop and are frame accurate. If you're recording with just the Hyperdeck 8K Extreme, there's another thing. This is a video that I made. If you Google search for Blackmagic Hyperdeck 8K, it does have the ability to do scopes. So built into it, you can see here SDI source, and then you can go through these different scopes. And you can see in here, I have media. I stuck an M.2 at the bottom of this thing. You could open it up and you could stick in an M.2 card. You just take it apart and you can drop one in. So the other thing that I do in this video is I hook up a USB-C drive, and you can see it there on the top. And basically it can record to that USB-C drive simultaneously while going to that Hyperdeck. So two different, so you could go M2 plus the CFast plus the USB. The other cool thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you can FileZilla or use one of your FTP apps to go 10 gig and transfer the files off. So in this video, I show connecting to the Hyperdeck, and you could do this with both. You could do the file transfers over 10 gig on the Hyperdeck 4K. But so basically, you would just have one connection, one Ethernet, and you could grab all those files at once versus having to go talk to 4 different Hyperdecks to pull all those files at the end of the day. So it just depends on how you want to work. But I'm with you, Karl, with the one single point of failure. I'm like, do I put all my eggs in one basket or not?
Yeah, I like the idea of that being your primary recording, and I would just like it to have something else. And sometimes for the cost of the Hyperdeck Studio, like the Hyperdeck Minis, for the cost of those, just having them have a big enough SD card in them and let them run all day, it's a great backup. In fact, another backup I've used sometimes is the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And so with 8 inputs, put an SSD on that. I had eight inputs running into it, and I just let it run all day. And there was one session, I was doing a conference. There was one session I had a problem, and I was able to go and grab that off the ATEM, and it worked great. It's just great to have a backup. So I think regardless, it's nice to have a backup anyway. So even if you did, whether you had 4 ATEMs, or you had this one, I would still want another backup, some backup record. In fact, I also often run for some things. I run Zoom meetings as well, and just use the Zoom cloud as a backup too. You know, it's not necessarily brilliant high quality, but when I have a 1080 signal going in, it gets me out of trouble sometimes. You know, as a tertiary backup. So. What do you got there?
So here's the actual device. The other thing that you do get with the individual units is you do get 2 redundant power supplies. You get time code in XLR. You've got HDMI on here as well. And then the other thing is it's 2 SSDs. So depending on the media and where you're buying it, you know, that could be cheaper, as well as the fact that this one's got SD card. So it depends on how you want to work.
And you can record.
That's the 4K though. That's the 4K.
This is the 4K,
that's not,
but that's what he's talking about.
It's not the 8K.
Yeah. Now this,
and
so
4K
the 8K
also has an M2 inside as well. That 4K also has an M2 inside.
Yep, you could take it apart and put it inside. Yep.
And you can do 4 inputs on that? I wasn't looking.
No. So
only the 8K.
So you would need 4 of these versus one of the 8Ks. Yeah.
Gotcha. But if you were doing 1080, okay, and now I'm reading it.
Reread the question.
It's important to read questions.
Would you like me to help you reread that for you?
I was thinking about 1080. Sorry about that. Fair enough. All right, next question.
Next one's in from Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia, asking, I have an ATEM Mini Pro. All ports are used. Upgrading the Mini, not possible. How can I connect an Apple TV, but I don't want Wi-Fi connection?
Courtney, how about this one?
Well, you can get a couple things to watch out for, but you can get an external switch, you know, just an HDMI switch, so that you take whatever is in, like input number 4 in your Mini that is filled, and you plug the Apple TV into this switch here, which will accept up to 4 HDMI inputs, and it has a selector button so that you can hot switch between 1 through 4 here to the HDMI out. Now you want to switch, so you'll have to sub-switch this first and then select, input 4, let's say, on your ATEM Mini. But a couple of things to watch out for is HDCP out of an Apple TV. They may have HDCP turned on. I'm not sure. I don't have an Apple TV. But if they do and you have copyrighted material that's playing back on that Apple TV, it may set the HDC, high definition content protection, which will give you just black out if your input device like the ATEM Mini or that switch perhaps, if the switch doesn't strip it off, some do, then when it gets to the ATEM Mini, it may just show up as black if it's copyrighted material. So you got to watch out for HDCP, and you have to sometimes you find a splitter that will switch it off and tell it that it's still on and allow that Apple TV to be used without setting it to black when something like a movie comes on.
Karl?
So reading the question, there's kind of two answers. So he says, I don't want to use a Wi-Fi connection. That's usually having like a phone talk to an Apple TV. That's via Wi-Fi. It has to be. That's the only way it can. It can only receive AirPlay. But as far as if you want to add more ports, then exactly what Courtney said. But I would suggest something that's slightly different. It is a 4-in, 1-out, but it would be an ATEM Mini Vanilla. Just go onto eBay. Just buy, it's discontinued now. Just
but that's $200. This was $29.
Well, that's $200 brand new. It was $199 brand new when they were still selling it. That's what I mean. Go onto eBay.
More than $29.
Well, but you do get a DVE, so you do get the ability to do what's known as a cascade super source. So you now have 2 DVEs. So it's essentially, it is a little bit more expensive than what Courtney's offering, but you're essentially having one ATEM Mini Vanilla cascade into another one. So you now have technically 7 inputs because one of them is going to be the ATEM Mini. But these 7 inputs do get quite powerful because now you can cascade, essentially DVEs. So you have one DVE cascaded to another one, which gives you essentially a 2-up super source, or technically a 3-up super source, depending on how you cascade it. But this is like, my suggestion, what Courtney says is exactly right. You just want a 2-in or a 4-in, 1-out switch, which is $50. HDCP won't work if you're using copyrighted content, but if you're just doing the interface or you're using a camera, via AirPlay into the Apple TV or wireless camera, that'll work. It does switch its metadata. It sends it down the HDMI cable when it's on or off as far as copy protected material. But yeah, so some form of a switch. I'd suggest ATEM Mini Vanilla. But you use what makes sense to you and what you have available within your budget. Really, that's what we're talking about.
Fair enough. Next question.
Next one in from Jason Robert Cha in Sarasota, Florida, asking any recommendations for weather stations that work well with Mac, or do I have to use a PC? And he's got an exclamation point there. I didn't say that with the. My older Logia is not networking well with my IP supplied Eero.
Karl.
So there is one. I kind of love this company. So this is Pasco. So pretty much what this is a full weather station, and I will get to a slide later on that shows you what it will actually do. But yeah, so this weather station it's pretty powerful. Now the Pasco software, they're showing here, I believe that's an Android phone. They're showing here with an Android phone, it works on Android, iOS, iPad. It's really nice on iPad. It works on Mac, it works on Linux, works on PC, it works on everything. So Pasco have their software. This talks to it via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So essentially just consider this just talks wirelessly to it. It has USB-C as well. Now, as far as what this can do, it's pretty powerful. So this is I think this is the interface from the Android side, but it'll be a similar interface from all of them. So this is kind of what you get, but you get a lot more than this. It's just a screenshot, obviously. So you're getting pressure, you get GPS, you're getting the light lux, so how much light levels, you're getting your altitude. As you can see, everything's there. And of course, here it's in Celsius, but you can change it to Fahrenheit. And as far as the features, so just pause your video. These are just some of the features. It actually has a lot more than this, but these are just some of the features that it has. So yeah, so Pasco is the one I'd suggest as far as a weather station. For pretty much, it'll connect to anything that has an operating system.
Good work. Makes me want to buy one of those. I want to be able to sign them, have it connect to smart devices as well, so you can turn things on and off based on temperature, immediately outside.
Well, yeah, you can do that because Pasco it does actually have that So what you're seeing is
Okay.
a nice graphical interface, but actually what it delivers is command line underneath. So you can just tap into
Oh,
that
wow.
command line and say, when this value goes above this, do that. So if
That's
you go to the
cool.
Pasco website, you will notice that what Grant just said is exactly, that's their number one thing they do. What I was showing
Yeah,
here was
right.
kind of a secondary thing, was making it look pretty. What they do is give data in real time. So what Grant wants is exactly what that does.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Last question.
Raj Shandil in Los Angeles, California asks, new NVIDIA personaplex conversational model can talk and listen at the same time. Would you use a new chat model? And he's got a link here to github.com, NVIDIA personaplex.
It's very interesting. I mean, the half duplex that we're used to with some of the chat models is pretty good. I mean, most people when they're conversating with other humans tend to wait until the person stops.
Does that mean you can get in an argument with it and talk
Yeah,
over
that's
the
right.
other person? I told you not to never say that to me. You know.
I'm sure it would increase the latency. Decrease the latency. And so, of course, as soon as you've finished, asking a question, it would be replying because it's hearing, it's able to speak and listen at the same time. It's pretty cool. And I say this, we talk about sort of half duplex, but the difference between when we think about event comms, intercom systems, when you have to use a radio, a standard UHF radio, for example, and you've got a push to talk, the difference when you go to a full duplex where you can talk over each other and you can, all of that it's game changing. It's such a big difference when you are able to speak, and your conversation is different because people will start to respond even before you finish the question, perhaps, and things like that. And so, I don't know, think about it in that way. Perhaps it's actually really cool, and have it starting to respond to you quicker is pretty cool. Courtney, more to add on it?
Well, I was just wondering this. So this is using an LLM model, so it's translating speech to text, sending that up to the cloud, or responding, and that's coming back as text, which is then converting to speech in real time, with overlap through dual channels. So it's got a channel going up and a channel coming down, and they're asynchronous, so they can talk and listen at the same time.
Yeah.
Something my past girlfriends never knew how to do. They never knew how to listen. That was the point.
We won't. We won't go there. All right. The content recommendations. We've got to the end, and we always finish off with some content recommendations. Guy, what's yours?
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me this, and I just couldn't believe it. It's just unreal to me that stuff that I used to do in After Effects can now be done by AI, and you can do it pretty easily. I was shocked at this video. It's called "Vibe Creating Videos Just Became a Reality: Claude Code plus Remotion." So he shows walking through the creation of this video with the prompts and everything. Make a sweet video. So this is all this. It just made this. It made all of this. Didn't hire anybody. It made all those, this whole thing.
Did it invent all the characters, all the actors?
I'm not sure where it pulled I think he did have, I can't remember where I think he pulled the 3 pictures and the video from his site and then had it make this promo video. Make sure to use photos available in that website. Oh, no. So he told it to go to his website and pull the videos down. So yeah, agentic AI
Wow.
without the need for a technical background. But watch this video. It'll blow your mind. When he makes a change, there's like a 75% off. And he just tells it, change the promo from 50% off to 75%. And he just types it in and it changes it. Let's see, where is it? Yeah,
Wow.
here. So he's at 50% off here. And then he just, in text, he just types it in and now it's 75%. So it says changes made, discount 50% off to make it 75 month, change it from February to 26th. And it just changes it. He's not doing it. He's not going into After Effects to change it. He's just typing in Claude and it's creating this new video. It's bananas.
Incredible.
So the future
So
is
cool.
here now.
Yes, we're
that's
all
my
out of a
pick.
job.
Yep. You retired just in time, Courtney.
That's right. Excellent. Karl, what have you got this week?
So for me, it's actually a YouTube channel. So it's FX Guide. So this actually goes into FX of a lot of movies that are made, and also TV series. Where this is becoming really valuable now is because a lot of TV series and movies made for Netflix don't have a physical release, so therefore they don't have special features the same way. So now sometimes Netflix will do some behind the scenes, but they don't really go deep dive into the FX like they used to on DVDs and Blu-rays for certain things. So FX Guide is really good because they actually do their own breakdowns. They also get footage out of the FX houses. So right now in the January timeframe, we actually have award seasons. So all the FX houses are actually putting out their like 5 to 10 minute reels of what they've done over the last year for the stuff they want to get nominated for. And FX Guide will sit down with someone from that company and go through, okay, what's in this video, because they can talk about it because they made it public. So FX Guide is a really good example of, there's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of different stuff, comes from a lot of places. There's stuff they just kind of repeat. They kind of just put up here from FX houses. They put up their own breakdowns and they'll simply just repost them here. Or sometimes they will break them down and speak to, via Zoom, they'll speak to people who worked on the film and talk about like, how did you approach this? How did you solve these problems? So if you're into FX and you're into those kind of how stuff is done in modern stuff, because they'll break down modern stuff, and you used to like watching that stuff on DVDs or Blu-rays, this is a good YouTube channel.
Good one. Courtney, it's yours.
Yeah, I was watching a Tarzan movie the other day on TCM, and they had this special little short that came on after it, which was Ben Burt, who was sound designer for Lucasfilms, and some other guy that were in black and white. And they did this little short on the visual effects in the Tarzan movie. Tarzan's, I can't remember which one of the Johnny Weissmuller ones, but they explained how the matte paintings were all done and how they integrated live action into some of these incredible special effects that were done back in the 1940s. So it was kind of interesting. So I looked for it. I couldn't find it, so I can't make that recommendation. One thing I did do, though, is I went back. This is kind of a throwback to 2023, and this is an entertaining film. And it's not really a film. It kind of flew under the radar because it's a Wes Anderson short film. He did a series of 3 shorts for Netflix back in 2023. And there's one called The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar. And it's one of the most unusual films you've seen. It's a Wes Anderson film, so it has all those characteristics of Wes Anderson. It has little animated pieces. And this is really unusual because it's done kind of like a stage play. And it has Ben Kingsley, Benedict Cumberbatch, Ray Fiennes, and Dev Patel. And those 4 of them play 4 characters. And it's a wonderful story by Roald Dahl. And it's full of these weird things, like little animated things, and the characters will change makeup on camera. So they'll have a little makeup person come out and change the makeup to become an older version of the character. And that's Benedict Cumberbatch playing the makeup man on the left there. And then he goes off, and meanwhile above them are these little animated miniatures. And the thing is to listen to the sound. I'm not going to play any of the sound here because we'll probably get taken off of YouTube. But listen to the sound on stereo headphones because they pay great attention to the stereo, and the quality of the sound is camera perspective always. And the scenes change. Scenery rolls in and rolls out as the scene changes and the camera moves. And you hear the rollers on the set pieces as they roll in stereo. And you'll see a little heater on the side, and you'll hear it come on and go click, and it's just in the background. It has nothing to do with the story, but there's so much attention to the sound design. It's really amazing, and it's really funny. It's a great story. Keeps you enthralled for the 39 minutes that it lasts, and it's continuous dialogue. Don't try and turn subtitles on it because you'll never be able to keep up and watch all the wonderful things that are happening in the frame. As they're telling this story, and the narration from the individual characters almost never stops. It goes straight through 42 minutes of them telling this really wonderful story. from Roald Dahl, The Wonderful
Amazing.
World of Henry Sugar.
Good one. It's a great one. I'll enjoy watching that. Probably watch that with the kids. They'll probably enjoy that too. Mine is Netflix. I watched it also on Netflix. Was The Rip, which was is from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. So their production company put that together, and what's interesting about it is not so much the movie, although I think it's probably a solid 7.5, 8. I would give it out of 10. It's not a blockbuster, but it was enjoyable. But the thing that they have set up, that was the deal with Netflix, was to be able to like a sliding scale of how successful it is on Netflix, and then a profit share across the crew and the people that worked on the movie, which is pretty cool. So that's unusual, particularly for Netflix, because Netflix would normally buy it and that's it, and there'd be no distribution or in the way that works. But they set that up, and so that's going to be really interesting to watch. So if for no other reason, if you didn't want to watch it, maybe just open it up and let it run, because a bunch of people in the film industry will get more money if you do. It seems like a good thing to do. So so that's worth watching. I also both of those guys were on Joe Rogan's podcast as well, and that's a fun listen too. I really enjoyed that. Sometimes, as they do the circuit of promoting a film, you get all these little sound bites of little couple of minutes here and there as you see them go through all the different places. But it's rare to have sort of a couple of hours, 2.5, 3 hours of actually just diving into good conversation, and that was a good one. So if you're interested in filmmaking and what's happening these days, that's a good one to get into. So there you go. Excellent, everyone.
One thing, just to close the loop real quick on that video that we had it generate while you guys were doing your thing. I said, hey, there's no music on this. Can you get me some music? And it said, hey, what kind of music do you want? And upbeat, happy. I said, happy. And it kicked out a video. And it's simple stuff. But then it asked me, do you want to open up the video? And it just made this little, simple video here that's in QuickTime Player, but it did it. I mean, it's pretty amazing that you can have this type of thing created all by using text and prompts. I'm still blown away. So go watch some videos to sneak to content picks in there. Go watch some videos on Claudebot. There is actually one
me a
in particular.
Beethoven-like symphony for this background.
There was one more. I lost it. There was one, I'll put it in the chat, that's got about 250,000 views that I first watched, where the guy's holding up the Mac Mini M4 that basically just makes you want to buy one. It's cool to have your own little personal assistant.
That's very cool. Well, I've got a task for you, a challenge for you, Guy, and that is that in some of that YouTube analysis that you were doing, I'd like it to go and find all of the office hours episodes and find the phrase bananas for scale, and then chart all the how many millions of bananas for scale there has been, so that we can compare the because my feeling could be that extra hours may push out ahead of some of the normal office hours episodes because of where the questions are coming from and the time zone. So if we bounce from Australia back to the US a lot, that's what happens. We're talking about the Tlaloc traversal. And
what have I told you? I've vibe coded something that searches all of office hours. Well, I've only done about 100 episodes so far, but basically there's timestamp results. So every time that you said the word bananas for scale, bananas for scale, bananas for scale. So like this one's at 101 and you just say jump to, and it'll actually pull up that YouTube video at that timestamp, and then you could listen. So they'll say bananas.
So now what you need to do is just pull a little bit of context on either side of the phrase, right? So now you have to pull a couple of sentences, because then you could look there and it will show you how many bananas for scale. It's like, just give me
More
the
work to do.
sentence before
More
this.
work to do.
You got a little personal AI that'll do it for you. Just talk into Telegram.
Here's the box. I mean, just to be linked by Courtney. I mean, this is what made that. This little $400 computer. Well, it also cost me. It was costing me $20 a month. Then it went to $100, and now I'm up to $200 because I had to go to the top end one because I ran out of tokens. And it was it was like, hey, do you want to continue? You're out of tokens until midnight. And I'm like, I can't stop right now. So now I'm paying $200 a month for Claude. So this stuff isn't cheap, but to make this kind of output, I mean, I'm just excited. I think it's a great investment. Learn Claude code.
Yeah, it's incredible.
The
future. So it was 118 million bananas for scale. If we bounced from every question to every question, we did pretty well. A special thank you to the crew tonight that have made all this work in the background. Taylor, Peter, Alan, Robert, and Jason, all tracking along and making it work. Thank you. And to the panelists, thank you for answering questions. We had some good questions that came from all these great people that joined us tonight. And thank you. Thank you for joining us, and let's do it all again next week at the same time, 6 p.m. Pacific on Mondays, and which is like 12:30 p.m. for me here. There you go.
And we'll see you in after hours. We'll see you in after
hours.
And
we'll jump into after hours right now. Yeah, we'll see you there. Thanks, everyone.